Now I would like to recommend a function that will make your entire presentation look more professional and polished. If you have given a presentation before, you are probably familiar with this situation. A viewer interjects with a question. You have already reckoned with this question and prepared a slide for it in advance. And now you want to jump to this slide. But which slide was it, actually? So far, you have had no choice but to scroll through the slide deck in order to find the correct slide. But the audience will also see the slides you actually intended for later. Or you have to leave the presentation mode first, then navigate to the desired slide, then restart presentation mode, and so on. As you can see, it is high time to solve this problem in a new way. With the new Zoom function, you can now navigate easily and quickly within your presentation to the desired slide and then return to the original slide. Finally, there is a solution to this unprofessional looking flipping through of slides during the presentation. Your audience will thank you for it. I will now show you in detail how it works.
In this video, you will learn about 3 different zoom options. Let's start with the so-called slide zoom, which allows you to jump to a specific slide that has been prepared in advance. You can access the slide zoom via the Insert tab in the Links group. Click the Zoom button here. You can choose between 3 options. The middle option, Section Zoom, may be grayed out. More on this later. Please select the slide zoom, and then a wizard will appear which will offer you all slides. Now you can define which slide you want to jump to. For example, slide 6. Confirm this by clicking the Insert button below, and you will see that this small preview has been inserted on the slide. You can now place it freely, for example, here in the bottom corner. To see what the zoom currently looks like, you can play the presentation, for example, with F5. And as a small reminder, if you want to start the presentation not with slide 1, but with the current slide, what would be the shortcut for that? Exactly, Shift F5. So, start your presentation, and as soon as you reach the slide with the added link, and then hover the mouse over the slide preview, the mouse pointer changes to the familiar hand symbol. So, there is obviously a link here. Click on it once, and you will see that the previously linked slide actually opens. Great! Now you can answer the spontaneously asked question by using the prepared slide. And if you now switch to the next slide by pressing Enter, the next slide is displayed, and you can continue the presentation. But wait a minute. Currently, the presentation does not jump back to the original slide, but continues from the link slide. This may be intentional, of course, in order to include possible branches, but first, I will show you how to jump back to the original slide, because you only wanted to answer a short, interposed question and then continue your presentation as usual. To do this, go back to the starting slide and mark the small preview there. A context menu called Zoom Tools will appear at the top. In this menu, you can first of all make various optical improvements, but as this is the most relevant here in the Zoom options, you can select the option Return to Zoom. Okay, test it once. Restart the presentation again and navigate to the appropriate slide. Click on the link again. You will see that the target slide opens, and if you now press the Return key to open the next slide, the original slide will actually be displayed again. This example also shows you how important it is to check the sequence of the presentation again and again in presentation mode. This way, you can test whether all links, branches, and animations really behave the way you want to present it to your audience. The second zoom function I would like to show you is the section zoom. Instead of zooming to a slide and jumping back immediately, you can use the section zoom to show several slides, a so-called section, and then return to the original slide. But this is only possible if you have included sections in your presentation. Therefore, I have already included some sections. Between the slides, you can see the names of the sections. You can take these section names with a pressed left mouse button and drag them onto the slide so that a section zoom is created there by drag and drop. Now you can check if the zoom works again. Press Shift F5 to start the presentation on the current slide, and you will see that the presentation actually jumps to this section, then shows all slides of this section, and jumps back to the original slide at the end of the section. Perfect. One more short note for you. You created the section zoom by using the drag and drop function, so you did not use the ribbon. Of course, you can also use this technique to set up slide zooms. This is a little faster than using the ribbon as shown before. Okay, now to the third zoom option, the so-called summary zoom. To do this, select the Insert tab at the top, select the Zoom button in the Links group, and then click on Summary Zoom. This will bring up the familiar wizard again, which offers you all available slides. Please select all slides and insert them into your presentation by clicking on Insert. A new, additional slide will be created and inserted into your presentation at the very beginning of your presentation. I will show you now why this is the case. Start the presentation first from slide 2, from the former slide 1. Imagine that your presentation is running and suddenly a question comes from the audience. To answer it, you want to jump to a specific slide. Now you can jump to the first slide, to your overview slide, using the button Position 1. If you want to answer the question using slide 7, for example, simply select slide 7 to jump there. When the question has been answered, you can jump back to the overview slide and then return to the slide where you interrupted your presentation. Now a little tip for you to optimize the display. The zoom options always create small preview images, so-called thumbnails, of the page. Here you can see the summary zoom, which displays a small thumbnail for each slide. You can replace these thumbnails with your own images. To do so, please click once on such a thumbnail to reach the Format tab. Here you can already make various changes. But now open the command Change Image by right-clicking. This will enable you to insert your own images into the presentation, as a cover page, so to speak. Of course, you are free to do this only at one or at several places. Here you can add a title to the summary zoom, start the presentation again, and then you can already see how the inserted graphics and the new title have improved the appearance. I hope you're as enthusiastic about the zoom options as I am. I would be very happy if you use this kind of navigation from now on.